It's Colm McGuigan for IFLTV. Edward, it's our first sit down of the week, actually. You were in enemy territory yesterday. We'll have to do it. I need to speak to you first. Espinosa called you out yesterday. I'll tell you what it was. I was interviewing him. You were in the background lurking around, and I said to him, after mine and your interview about half an hour before me and him, I said, you walked past earlier and Eddie was kind of waiting on you to put the hand out. And he said, he was traumatised from that last time. I probably should have. If I did, I would shake his hand. There was never like a real... It wasn't in his mind to not shake your hand that time, but he believes because you were so traumatised from then, he would do it now to shut you up.
I'm very confused, and I'm definitely not traumatised. But I was definitely surprised when I put my hand out to shake Espinosa's hand that he just swerved me and went and looked at me like a piece of shit. So, but... yeah, I get on with everybody. You know, caught up with my old mate Leonard. I saw Stephen.
You and him, what is it with you and him? Because there was a point.
Basically, I've said it in interviews before. When we had Anthony Joshua fighting the likes of Klitschko, etc., and beyond that, we had a deal with Showtime through Stephen Espinosa. The deal was coming up for the end, and whether he wants to admit it or not, Stephen made a beeline for Rob McCracken to give it the old swerveroo round me. Now, it's a bad move because we were a very tight team, and Rob said, Stephen's just come over to me. He said he'd like to have a chat with me about Anthony Joshua. And I thought, no, Stephen. And then I ended up taking him from Showtime and going to DAZN. So that was one thing. But then there's been a lot of backwards and forwards, and he's kind of always retweeted stuff on Twitter, and you know when the likes used to come up, it's like someone would slag me off and it'd be like liked by Stephen Espinosa. I was like, what are you doing? And then that thing where I saw him, because all these guys, like you saw with Leonard, Aram, even Oscar, like you're never going to see me like beefing with someone. I'll just say, how you doing? So when I said to him, how you doing at the Canelo plant fight? And he looked at me like a piece of shit and didn't shake my hand. I just thought, I can't believe you've done that. And then, you know, we were in the change room with Canelo after the fight. But it's in the past, really. And, you know, I don't really have any... I don't know what he's doing, like officially. Did you get the take on that?
I asked him what his role was. I think he works on their fight schedule, and he's kind of like the middleman between PBC and Amazon.
Is he? Oh, right. Okay. I don't know what their schedule is, but yeah, I mean, it's a little bit. Look, Stephen is a very smart guy, like really bright, but obviously he had that massive role of power within Showtime, and that's changed a lot. But listen, nothing against him. If I see him and I couldn't put my hand out to shake it because I was doing an interview with you and he was over there. But tomorrow night, I may well put my hand out. Let's see if he shakes it.
I spoke to Canelo today.
You're so cringe. No, but like...
Okay, only person outside.
No, but I feel like this is part... You're part IFL and then you're part Colm McGuigan. It's like you're trying to build your own personal profile. Like, here I am, like, with Berlanga, you know, sitting here, and then with Canelo, catch up with Canelo. Like, I feel like you do have a massive ego.
It's actually incorrect. I have no ego. It is. I'll tell you why we do the photo with Canelo and Berlanga, right? It drives people because I always say tomorrow, it goes, they got an exclusive. No one else got to sit down with Canelo outside of the broadcaster.
So dynamic, Colm.
It's all about marketing.
It's all about you. That's the problem. The whole thing. You know, they're standing there, you know, drippy, in your ripped jeans, got the new haircut, little pout, little selfie pout with the new hair, I know fucking what you're up to, son. Don't try and bluff me.
I'll tell you about the Canelo interview first. I asked him about whenever he started.
Did you ask him about me?
No, I didn't actually.
Strange.
I know, isn't
normally
it?
Do.
Normally I do,
That's
but
probably the basis of your interview. Actually, I'm actually glad you didn't, because he's probably like every time, what the fuck does he keep asking about?
He loves me actually. To be fair, he calls me Colin. But anyways, he goes, Colin, just like you.
Colin. I'll told him.
So I said to him, like, it's funny when you look back at Canelo and you'll remember it from the Callum Smith fight. I didn't work in boxing at that time. I remember watching it and thinking, this guy could be like a global superstar, even bigger, if he spoke English. And if you remember at the time, there was translators. He spoke a little bit, but not really. And I asked him what that turning point was. And he said Billy Joe Saunders fight. He said it was that moment when Andrade came in and there was that back and forth. And he said he knew he had to start with a smack talk. So I asked him what he likes to say. And he told me, do you remember the moment when you're in the ring with him and the guy comes behind him?
Yeah.
And he says, get the fuck out of here. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah. But I would say I'd like to take the credit for him speaking English, because when I came in, he had to, I was speaking in it like I couldn't believe how good his English was. And when people hear him curse and slate people in English, people love it. Hey there, motherfucker! Like, he's because you know what, the one thing about Canelo is he's so funny and he's such good company. Like, he's such a laugh. But when he's cursing and when he's doing that, he's so, like, people love it. And yeah, like, that was a mad night, that was. Because
who was that guy behind?
So that was in Miami, wasn't it? At the Yildirim fight. So what happened was Jake Paul or someone set these guys up. They had all their T-shirts on, didn't they? Saying like Jake Paul something, I don't know. So what they did was they faked some DAZN credentials, all highly illegal, right? And they went up to like the check-in and kind of looked at the credentials list and then went away and then came back with these fake credentials and gave names of people that were on the list. Anyway, so next thing, 3 people get into the fight. They're all wearing DAZN hats. They've all got the credentials on. And then after the fight, they get in the ring, right? Now, when they get in the ring, they take off their DAZN T-shirts that they got made, right? And it says Jake Paul, I don't know, whatever it said. Anyway, he spotted it first, Canelo. So I've like gone like that, and he spotted it. He's gone, get the fuck out of here. And they've all shit themselves, right? So we've copped it. We've grabbed them. We've got security to get them. And then we've ended up, confiscating the footage or whatever, the cameras. I don't know. I remember at the end, there was like 3 policemen talking to him. And they were all like, it was mad. There was like one old geezer, right? We had them all lined up on the chair in the stadium still, but everyone had gone home. And that they were just like, the police and the security were talking to them about, the fact that they've used fake documentation, blah, blah, blah. And it was like one old geezer and a couple of dweebs. And I'm like looking at them thinking, what? I went up to the old bloke. I don't know, he was like, say old, he was probably about my age, right? And I went to him. He's like wearing a Jake Paul T-shirt. So I went, mate, what do you do? And he goes, what? I went, what do you do for a living? And he went, oh, I'm a school teacher. I went, you're a school teacher? I said, you fake documentation to get in here. You sitting there wearing a Jake Paul T-shirt to try and be a hero. And honestly, it was hilarious. Yeah, that was when he did that. And then, obviously, the Andrade fight was around a Billy Joe Saunders fight as well. And, I feel like him speaking English has really elevated his profile, really.
We've talked a bit about this fight this week. I want to ask you one more question about that fight and we'll move on to something else. But do you believe that this has reignited a spark inside Canelo, that the whole Puerto Rican thing, the fact that Berlanga came here with his backup and kind of, I've never seen Edgar Berlanga so confident. Do you think that's reignited a spark inside Canelo?
I think it helps him get up for fights. Like, if there's a build-up where no one really says anything, he's still going to get up for it because he's a pro. But definitely, it would have helped him just be up for the fight in general. And, I love the energy Berlanga's had in this fight. He's not giving him the respect. And maybe that's made Canelo feel disrespected. But, I think we'll get a great fight.
And I have quite a bit to go through with you, so we'll fly through it here. Has Joe Cordina left Matchroom? I'm receiving countless number of messages and tweets saying you're avoiding asking Eddie this question. I mean, I actually didn't know anything about it. I'm asking you now, has Joe Cordina left Matchroom?
When you say left Matchroom, I mean, he's got a situation where we had an option for his next fight, which is the fight coming up, and other than that, his contract's expired. So the option that, you know, we had within his contract obviously still exists, but, you know, the plan would be to work with Joe if it worked for everybody. You know, Spencer Brown's on the team now. I'm working with a lot of fighters with Spencer as well, and he's managing him. And I don't know what we've got for Joe, but we've had him his whole career. I would love for that to continue. But also, Joe right now is looking for the biggest fights for the most amount of money. You know, he landed the Shakur fight, and fair play to him. Like, he was the one that, you know, offered that to Zelfa, to Leewood, to Joe Cordina, and Joe was the one that came back. You know, and he was making a lot of money for the fight, so it's a bit of a kick in the nuts. But we will look at fights for Joe, and I think Joe will look at all fights because he's at that stage in his career. You know, whether he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 fights left, whatever it's going to be, he's got to make the most of his career, and he's got to be in the fights that will generate him the most money. And that's the difficulty. You know, outside of Riyadh season, I'm not sure what fights can generate the money that he wants out of the game. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the same with quite a few fighters at the moment as well.
There's been reports today that Bam Rodriguez Estrada's off because Estrada's declined the option of the rematch. Is that true?
It looks like it. So we're waiting for the official word from Estrada because he exercised the rematch clause at first. And I was a bit surprised because I thought, you know, it's a tough one to go back into. But fair play, like a lot of fighters after the fact are like, I want the rematch, I want the rematch. Then I saw an article saying he's not going to take the rematch, he's moving to 118, and we're just waiting for official clarification in writing. So there's a good chance Bam will be back in November. He does have a mandatory in Pedro Guerva, who's a very good Mexican fighter. He's the interim world champion. We also want the Puma Martinez fight, and I think that's one of the best fights in boxing. And I think that can come in kind of the first quarter of 2025. But yeah, waiting on official clarification from Estrada.
When you say November, is that a fight that you want to put in the US? Will it be a Bam?
Yeah, Bam will fight in the US next. We're planning a really big show for November in the US. And
where will that land? Arizona again, likely? Or?
I think it could be on the East Coast.
Eddie, moving on as well, there's been a tweet today from According to Boxing that says Boots Ennis is being released. Now, it's actually grew. I don't even know if you've seen it, but it's grown from that tweet that a lot of people are now suspecting that Boots is actually going to leave Matchroom. Can you put it right or wrong? What's the situation?
I mean,
I've seen your tweet back.
Just the most bizarre world that we live in, right? Like, number one, whatever you read on Twitter, there's a very good chance that 70% of it, maybe 80% of it, is complete bollocks. The fact that you are asking me this, and I have been asked by 6 or 7 media outlets if this is the case, from some According to Boxing geezer who puts this out, and people actually think it's true. We have signed one of the best talents in US boxing, in Boots. I couldn't be prouder to represent him. We've just knocked in 15,000 crowd in Philadelphia, right? On what planet would we be releasing Boots Ennis from his contract? I mean, never, not in a million years.
I think it was more they were suggesting that Boots was wanting to be released, not that you'd actually released. I know that tweet.
That's not actually what they meant from the tweet. It said Matchroom are looking to release Boots Ennis. No. I mean, we've got a great relationship with Boots and Posey. We definitely aren't going to be releasing him. His next fight will be in November, and it will be announced as early as Saturday, but probably early next week.
Where's it going to land? That is it Philadelphia again, because obviously there's a big appetite for it.
You know, like, for me, you know, we got this Judasian fight, which is a rematch. Wasn't one that we anticipated, but we see the future at 147 pounds, and we want to make sure that he can get those unifications. Now, there's no guarantee that Norman, you know, and Stanionis and Barrios will fight Boots, but I'd like to have a run at it. And there's no tearing rush weight-wise for him to move to 54, but that is under consideration as well. So watch this space. We're all talking, but we are definitely not releasing Boots from his contract. We hope we represent Boots for the rest of his career.
I spoke to Posey today, and he said that they would not really want to go to Germany because he thinks same thing will happen again. He'll dance around the ring and you could get robbed in Germany. Is that your idea of it as well? Would you not like him to go to Germany for a fight?
I think that, you know, we want to continue the success that we've had in Philadelphia. So we'll have to see. We're speaking to Chudasian's team as well, and we'll have to see what's next.
I don't know if you've seen it, but there's an IFL video came out today of O'Hara Davies. He was comparing you and Ben Shalom. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
What do you make of that?
He's my new favourite, O'Hara Davies. Like, you know.
Do you agree with him in what he's saying about you and Ben Shalom? You're someone who probably is, what are you, 30 years older than Ben? 20?
Good bands.
No, but you're a lot old. Yeah, you're close to 20 years older than him. He's young in the game. Do you see, you know, maybe a little bit like yourself at the beginning? Wet behind the ears?
No. Well, I think it's a bit harsh saying that Ben's wet behind the ears.
No, I'm saying if you were back then, you've said to me on interviews you were wet behind the ears.
It's a completely different personality. Like, back then, I was the same. I wasn't as good as I am now, but you've either got that personality or you haven't. And I'm sure Ben's got assets in other areas as well, outside of personality. But he's, you know, also it's very harsh. Like, there's never gonna be anyone like me again. Right? And you give it the old, but I'm telling you the facts of the situation. There won't be. So you can't compare me to anyone. Because it's very harsh for a promoter to come through, a young promoter like Ben Shalom, and everyone's comparing him to Eddie Hearn. Oh, it's Eddie Hearn from Wish. Or, like, same thing with Sam Jones. They take the piss out of him for that as well. They're their own people in their own rights. And not everyone is a loudmouth genius promoter. That's me. But again, like, jokes aside, you know, I always do the sarcastic stuff. There'll never be anyone like me again in boxing, in British boxing particularly. And I think in world boxing.
Why do you think that?
Because my personality is unique. I'm the ultimate showman. No one can talk like me. No one can promote like me. And no one can sell a show like me. So O'Hara's comments are, yeah, Eddie Hearn's a geezer, he's up there, wow, giving it the spiel, he's promoting the show, he's this, he's got this big personality. And he says Ben hasn't. But everyone's different. Like, it's a skill to be like that. It's not easy. So I take the piss out of Frank Smith all the time. Frank Smith is probably, in my opinion, the best operator in boxing, right, in the world. But he's never going to be anywhere near my level in terms of a promoter, a showman. But I'm never going to...
I think that's harsh, though, on Frank Smith, because I think you're comparing him to you because you know him so intimately compared to anyone else.
But I will never be able to compare to Frank on the stuff that he is good at. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everyone's got their skill. Frank, right now, if I didn't exist, Frank Smith, from a presentation point of view, from a showman point of view, he's probably one of the best out there. But people will compare him to me. And you can't compare him to me for that skill. Now, I can't compare myself to Frank for the skills of, you know, the operations and running that side of the business. He's on another level to me. And I'm on another level to him from that side. But that's why we work so well together. But you can't, you know, like, it's very difficult to fill my boots. And that is what has happened when I left Sky. And he's always up against it. But, like, again, he probably has skills in other areas that may outperform me in other areas. I don't know. I have no idea what he's good at. But from a personality point of view, from a promotional point of view, from a showman point of view, no, of course, no one's ever going to get close. So it's unfair to compare him to me in that respect, because it's quite unfair to put me in anyone's league in that respect. One of a kind, never be another one.
You would eat yourself if you were chocolate, Edward. I'll go on to some quick fire questions before your head gets a little bit bigger.
Do you think there's anyone like me in boxing?
At the minute, I'll say no, but I think there could be. I think Frank Smith could definitely step. Like, if you were to ever leave, I think Frank Smith would learn. He's learned so much from you. And I think...
I said, He's really good. Like, but he's just like at that skill.
Well, actually, I'll give you a name at the minute who's not like you, but I tell you what, he could do it because he's actually on form at the minute. Oscar De La Hoya, and you're going to laugh when I say that, but he is.
But he don't have the stomach for it. You know what I do? You honestly think Oscar De La Hoya is going to sit here for fucking, how long have I been here? 8 hours doing interviews day after day after day. He doesn't have the resilience. He doesn't have the appetite to be doing all of the stuff where you roll your sleeves up and get stuck in. But, you know, mate, also, have you seen him at a press conference doing his chat? Fuck off, COLM, you silly tosser.
I knew that would just get you riled up.
I think he's good, by the way. You know, this whole clapback Thursdays, but it's all scripted. Mate, watch him run a press conference. Silly bald twat.
I can't believe you got so weighted on that. Oh, it's the best moment ever yet. Eddie, I'm going to move on to a few different things before I get you going even more. Right. Good win for Diego Pacheco. Do you see him fighting again this year?
Either in December or January.
US, maybe even Riyadh show. I know Diego's been on this Matchroom World Tour.
I mean, he's boxed in Saudi before, but I want to keep headlining him in the in the US. I think that's really important. I think we're really building the momentum behind Diego Pacheco. And, you know, I know we keep talking about Munguia, and like, I think that's such a good fight for him, but there's no tearing rush. Like, if I want to keep him active 3 or 4 times a year, but I really like the Munguia fight. But, you know, if he fights in December or January, it's likely that won't be Munguia, and we'll have to look accordingly. If
he's ordered for the IBF and Skull and Shishkin happens, would you take that fight?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
You think Diego could potentially win that title and then get maybe the likes of a big fight against Canelo?
At the moment, he's mandatory to Canelo with the WBO when that gets called. He's number 1. But I'm not sitting here saying Diego's ready for Canelo. He thinks he is. But I want him to have 2 or 3 fights before he fights Canelo, because that could be a huge fight down the line. But definitely, you know, Skull against Shishkin would be all over that.
I've heard you say this week, maybe last week, Andy Cruz, Monaco. Is that the headliner?
No, definitely not the headliner, but definitely a chance that Andy Cruz could feature on that card.
Can you give us maybe like 5, 6 names who are likely headliners in Monaco? Because people are kind of trying to put...
I mean, I don't understand where it's like I'm obligated to give you names because people want to know. Like, it's December 14th.
Yeah, but do you understand why there's fight fans out there who are trying to get, you know, you say you're resilient and you're here doing 20 interviews. They want to get it built up for these events, and they're thinking, right, give me 6 names, Hearn, give me 6 names.
Because then end up people go, oh, well, they're shit. Oh, they're not going to. And then you announce, well, he said them names. Oh, he said them names and he didn't put them on. There he goes again, waffling like. And you just asking me for these names. It's December 14th. We've got loads of time. The timeline of our events, hopefully tomorrow, but in the next few days, we will announce November 30th in the UK. We will also announce maybe Saturday, but definitely next week, our American card, November 9. There'll also be another card, December 7 in America. December 14 will be Monaco. 21 is Fury Usyk. So we've got non-stop action coming. Just relax. Firstly, by the way, I've got to say, the hype that is coming in for our Mexico shows now is like from a US perspective, obviously on the zone, we have a massive Hispanic / Mexican fan base. We do great numbers on our Mexican shows. UK fight fans, granted the hardcore, who love the Mexican fight nights. So don't forget, this Friday, we've got Hernandez against Matisse, great fight and a great card from Hermosillo. Then we've got Berlanga, Canelo. Then we've got AJ next week. Then we've got Sheffield. Then we got a week off. Then we got Bivol against Beterbiev, a great card out there. Then we got a massive card in Manchester, Catterall against Prograis, great fight. You've got Bellotti against Gomez for the British Commonwealth title. You've got Pat McCormack against Herrera, Eddie Scott and the unifying again, Campbell Hatton rematching, Flint. You've got Ishmael Davis against Lima, great fight. That's a brilliant card in Manchester. Then you go into November. November 9 will be in America, really big card in the US. November 30 is going to be a massive card in the UK. December 7 is back in the US. December 14 is Monaco. 21 is it's like fucking non-stop.
There's been reports that you're going back to Puerto Rico. Any truth to it?
Possibly. I mean, it's mad that how these things escalate. It's just like literally, I think we told someone that like 4 options for a site for December could be Puerto Rico. The Puerto Rican media have gone mental. Like, won't leave me alone. Oh, you're coming back to Puerto Rico? No, whoa. Maybe. When will we know? Give us 6 names. Fuck off. Leave me alone. Go away.
Eddie, you referenced the 30th of November. Is it done? Deal, Sonny Edwards, and your five, is it done?
You'll find out when we announce the show.
Blink twice if it's done.
No, I want to give it away, but I was very disappointed that that fight couldn't get made.
It's not happening?
Yeah, don't know yet. You have to see.
Okay, so Frank Smith mentioned potentially doing something on October 19th. Is there going to be a show that date?
October 19th. No.
So that's out of question now. What about the potential Belfast show? Because that was another one Frank Smith said.
That is something we're looking at, the December schedule, even maybe very early Jan. But there's a real problem trying to get in the Odyssey in the dates that we wanted, and we think that's the home for Crocker against Donovan. Both of those guys now very highly ranked in the world. That could even be eliminated for the world title, but that's definitely a fight we want to make.
Peter McGrail, Dennis McCann in talks?
I think Peter McGrail against Dennis McCann. He's now been ordered for the British title and the European title as well. That is such a good fight. That is exactly the kind of fights that we need to make. And I've spoke to George Warren about it. I believe they're up for it. You know, we're going to plan our own 5v5, either with His Excellency or in the UK. That's a brilliant fight for that card. We've already talked through a number of fights on the 5v5, and that would be a brilliant fight for that card.
Any update on Lee Wood and Alpha Barrett? Have you spoke to them? Is it potential?
It's a fight I'd like to make, actually. I mean, Lee's in an interesting position where obviously he's made a fortune in fights and vacated the belt, had to move to 130. The Warrington, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Josh Warrington next week. I think if he beats Kakachi, could set up a massive fight. What do you mean? What are you going like that for?
I just think Kakachi's got his number.
Well, what do you mean got his number? What, have they boxed before? Like, you're so biased. Yes, you are. But he's a very tough fight. I rate Kakachi. And, Josh is moving up a weight to fight a big super featherweight. But I feel like Josh has needed to move up for a long time. But if he comes through next week, sets up a big fight with Lee Wood at 130 pounds, I do like the Zelfa Barrett fight for Lee. I think it's a good fight.
Would that be like a Monaco headliner or not?
No, I'd like to do that in the UK. I don't. That's a fight. Lee Wood can fill Nottingham with that fight, and if we can get the numbers right, because it's Lee, like Joe. I think these guys, they've only got a couple of fights left, and they want to make as much money as possible, and I completely get it. And hopefully we can find the deal that they both like, and if they don't, then they should go elsewhere and try and make their money. I'm not sure it's out there. That's the problem.
Any move to sign the Olympians? We've spoke about it before, but the likes of Pat Brown, Delisha Sori, Lewis Richardson, have you spoke to any of those? Are you going to speak to any of them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we will be signing at least 4 Olympians. At least. Maybe more, depending on the deal and how those conversations go. Internationally, by the way. But from a UK perspective, there is definitely two, 3 British fighters that we would like to sign from the Olympics. But also don't forget, there's a lot of fighters that didn't make the Olympics for various different reasons, weight categories, qualification systems, that are also outstanding fighters. So we're talking to a lot of fighters at the moment. Just got to be careful you don't sign too many.
How did the chat go with Marco Verde? Do you expect to sign him?
Yeah. All these guys like Marco Verde, Amari Jones, a bit of ear hair there. Need those trimmers, like as you get older. Do you use them?
I don't need them, mate.
Okay. As I say to Marco Verde, Amari Jones, have a meeting, take our offer, go and speak to everybody else and see how you feel.
Eddie, 3 more questions, very quick ones. Canelo, Berlanga, how does it go?
do you know, I really feel that if Edgar starts well and gets a foothold in the fight, it's so difficult, you know, when you're saying, like, giving you a solid prediction of Edgar's going to do this, but I like his chances in the fight because I like his mentality. But Canelo's very difficult to beat.
If you had to put your money on it.
Well, you know,
If you,
from an odds perspective, that's a silly question, but I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna say I think Edgar Berlanga wins on points.
big call, Edward. Aj-Dubois. How does it end? Does AJ knock Dubois out?
I believe so. I think a lot of it depends on how Dubois approaches the fight. If he comes out hot like he did against Hrgovic, he's gonna, you know, I mean, he makes a lot of mistakes, and if he does that, but they might feel that's his best chance, or they might want to take him deep in the fight. I don't know, but if he comes out hot, I think AJ wins inside 3 rounds.
And the final one. Edgar Berlanga made a comment yesterday at the press conference where he said that if we see Oscar De La Hoya, he's going to get smacked or clapped, whatever he said. Do you see the hostility there, and do you understand any reason why, you know, he's on the zone as well, Oscar De La Hoya? Why does he have a shot at an event like this? Is it to do with Canelo more so than anything else?
It's very personal with him and Canelo, but I don't know, like, Oscar's got this thing where he's so happy and he likes to tell people he's, you know, but there's this toxicity in him and this, like, burning in him about Canelo Alvarez. He's just got to let it go. Like, it doesn't make no difference to his life. Like, the zone are his broadcaster, or I don't know, like, so he should really be championing a Mexican fighter like Canelo that's done so much for the sport. And then to bring Edgar into it, don't forget that you know, when Edgar left Top Rank, no one tried harder to sign Edgar Berlanga than Oscar De La Hoya. He flew in immediately to New York to go and see him. So you can't do all that and then slate the fight. Like, but Oscar's just got to let that go and just be happy, you know, and promote his fighters because he's got a big platform to do it. But he's choosing to promote Canelo Alvarez on that platform rather than his own fighters.
Edward, I've taken up enough of your time. Appreciate it, mate.
It's appreciated. You fucking have as well, you fucking cheeky bastard.
Cheers, mate.